Hey guys, this is Dana from Pop Goulash. I wanted to make sure that you knew how to reach us. Find us on Facebook under Pop Goulash. You can also find us on Twitter at Pop Goulash. We also have a phone number, and we definitely want you guys to give us a call with your thoughts, opinions, whatever, show ideas. That phone number is 224-325-4235. And you can also shoot us an email at popgoulash42@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Strap on your ear goggles, bitches. It's time for Pop Goulash. I'm Reuben, and absent this evening is Dana. She's got some fam stuff going on this weekend, so it's going to be me. But in the Hoodcave tonight, I've got a special guest for us. A guy I've known for damn near going on 10 years now. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I had a failed attempt at trying to start a band with him, by no fault to anybody's own, but sometimes shit just doesn't work out. Probably one of the, next to me, probably one of the angrier men I know in my life, but that's okay. Love him for it because he makes me feel better about myself knowing that I can be angry too. But sitting across from me tonight is Tom Janis, one of my groomsmen and probably one of the closest friends I've got. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's cool.
No worries, man. It's we've been looking forward to having you on the show. We've been trying, but just schedules just can't sync up, life and kids and wives and home improvement trips and
yeah, no kidding. A few times we've been trying to do this. It's what happens when you get older, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Life definitely gets in the way if it does anything. So, but so in Pop Goulash tradition, what have you been? What's been tickling your ears, your eyes? What have you been into?
Man, wow, right off the bat, huh? Yeah,
we swing for the fences.
Just go with it, man. Yeah, mostly a lot of what I've been listening to lately. I find myself listening to a lot of like pop punk and stuff like that. I listen to, which is weird for me. I know, right? I've been listening. I'm like wearing out the Offspring and.
I've been thinking about listening to The Offspring lately. I've had Ixnay on the Hombre on my mind.
Yeah, it's some good stuff. I mean, they're a lot better than people give them credit for.
Dude, they were excellent, man. I saw those guys probably 4 or 5 times between Ixnay and Americana, I'm sure.
Okay.
I saw them at the Metro.
Oh, jeez.
During, I want to say it was on the Ixnay tour.
Okay.
It was excellent, man. They're a fun band.
Yeah, I've never seen them, but... it's my time frame and it's my era. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, there was that one weird time frame between like Ixnay on the Hombre and the album that came right out after that.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
Americana.
Was
it was Americana, and then because that was the one that had what, Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Yeah.
Or was that Ixnay? Either way, Americana wasn't that great of an album. Like it was, there was a lot of. That's the one where They did the offhand cover of Obla Di Obla Da.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? Like, you guys are so much better than this.
Well, I don't know that they're so much better than that, but they're okay.
They're better than doing like a half
that much credit. Yeah.
I mean, for a Southern California pop rock band, punk band, I mean, if you listen to like Ignition, their first album, or even their first album, The Offspring.
The Offspring with Smash, Self-Esteem,
was
and
incredible.
Self-Esteem was the big one off of that, right?
Yeah,
and then
that one and You Gotta Keep Them
Separated, whatever the name of that one is. I think it's
Keep Them Separated. But yeah, dude, they were good, man. They're a good, fun band to see live too, man.
They're just a fun band to listen to. I mean, they're just it's everything's upbeat, everything is Yeah, it's just a cool band to listen to, man.
Yeah. I actually I got tickets. I'm going to see. Speaking of pop punk, I'm going to see Green Day at Wrigley.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I got tickets for that. I haven't seen Green Day in years.
Did you see the last time Green Day was in town? Did you see the video of the kid that he brought up on stage to do?
Was that the one that was been kind of floating around on social media?
Yeah, it's all
I thought
over
that was in Italy.
Media. No, I thought it was in Chicago.
I thought it was in Italy.
Was it in Italy?
I think so.
He brought the kid up on stage to do When I Come Around.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's the name of the song, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How bad is it that, dude, I'm that old, I can't even remember
I know.
song names or nothing no more. I got to sing half the song to remember the name.
Right. Well, it's what happens when, like, you have all of that useless information in your head and it gets pushed out to, like, rear children. The
hard drive is full, man.
Yeah, you gotta let some stuff go.
I gotta delete some files to.
It's like, do I gotta remember to feed the child, or should I remember that Rick Parashar was the producer on that album?
Oh man.
Oh, so yeah, but anything else?
Man, I don't know. My daughter's got me into watching The Office.
Really? The UK or the
American version?
The American?
I've never seen it. I never watched a single episode.
I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3.
I avoided it like the plague because Steve Carell just annoys the shit out of me. But I assume I can swear on here.
Shit, fuck, piss,
okay,
ass,
good.
Buckets of cum, whatever you want to say, dude.
Yeah, but I avoided it like the plague, man. And then she started watching it. She's like, "Oh, Dad, it's really funny." And so I started watching it, and now I'm binge watching it.
I kind of felt the same way about Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, man, this is The Office, but with a different cast.
Right.
But, dude, Parks and Rec was fucking hilarious,
it's really
dude.
Good. Well, she's hysterical. Amy Poehler's really,
that whole
really
cast,
funny.
though.
Yeah.
I mean, Aziz Ansari is hilarious.
Aziz Ansari's good. So is, Chris Pratt is.
Chris Pratt was just genius.
Yeah,
in
that was when he was at, yeah, he was really good.
He was good in it. Nick Offerman.
Well, the character he plays is probably one of the best, one of my favorite characters.
Well, it's
in
practically
television history.
It's practically him,
right?
Like, I've seen some of his his stand-up stuff, and I'm like, wow, you are Ron Swanson.
You are that guy, right?
My favorite line of all time out of that show was when he sits down. He's had a rough day, and he sits down in the diner. He's like, "I want all of your eggs and bacon." She's like, "Okay, hon, you want some?" No, I want all of the eggs and bacon.
I don't mean I want a lot of. Or what did he say? No, he says it's something like, "No, I don't think you've heard me correctly. You probably think I said I want a lot of eggs and bacon. I want all of your eggs and bacon," or something like that.
But just the fact that he's got money dug in holes stashed around town everywhere. Nobody knows how, he was straight up the ultra crazy side of libertarianism.
Yep. Oh man, I love the if you've seen the bit that he's got, the video he's got that he's out there. It's part of it's not part of his stand up, or it might be part of one of his stand ups, but it's he sits there and he goes, it's all the thoughts with Nick Offerman or whatever, and it's the one is he's sitting there. We're opening beers, that's why we're distracted. But the one he's sitting there and it's if your shirt is not tucked into your pants are tucked into your shirt. Just weird, stupid shit like that.
It's Mitch Hedberg type shit.
Yeah, and it's 5 minutes of him just doing these weird, stupid thoughts with Nick Offerman.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
well, his brother is is one of the owners of that brewery in Naperville. Solemn Oath.
Solemn Oath. Oh, really?
Yeah. His brother is is one of the co-owners of Solemn Oath.
I did not.
He's from
know
Chicago.
That.
He's from the area.
Last time I was at Solemn Oath, I hear I had a good time.
Well, you don't remember it, so you were obviously there.
I was told I had a blast.
Never been there. I haven't been yet.
It's a good time. They only take credit card though, and they limit you to 5 beers.
Hey, that's okay.
I mean, obviously is more than enough, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude, this last week for me has just been crazy. I've been listening to I subscribe to Apple Music for their their 3-month trial. I mean, I've been on I don't know why. I've had a Spotify account for 2 years now. And I'm downloading more on Apple Music than I am on Spotify. And Spotify, I think, it seems to me that Spotify has a lot more shit on it than Apple Music does.
I don't have either one, but I've heard similar.
Because Spotify, they have a lot of weird B-side stuff, all the EPs, singles, stuff like that. But it's been pretty interesting. Just for shits and giggles of it, I've been listening to, dude, and people make fun of me about this, but 21 Pilots, dude, that Blurry Face album that they have is fucking incredible.
I only have heard them because
probably because your daughter
loves them. She actually went. I actually had to pay $150 a seat I think, or like $175 a seat for her and my wife to go see them
at
down
Rosemont?
in Phoenix.
Oh, in
They were in
Phoenix.
Phoenix visiting my in-laws, and yeah, my daughter found out, like it was the day before the show. My daughter found out that 21 Pilots was playing, and so we went out to StubHub, and it was like $175 a ticket, plus of course the StubHub bend over and take it fee, which is like another $800
it's
or whatever
ridiculous.
it is. Yeah.
But their album is like 21st century sublime.
No, it's good. It's not bad. It's really not bad stuff.
Like,
they're really fucking weird too, man. Really,
which I appreciate about it.
I really like that.
Like, I don't know if you watch the Grammys at all, but
God no.
I DVR'd it just for the sake of this podcast to be able to have something to talk about, and we never talked about it, so I deleted it from the DVR. I watched like half of it. But they actually won, like, I don't know if they won Best New Artist or Best Rock Artist or whatever it was that they won, but they won their first ever Grammy with this album. And as they were walking up to take their award, so as they were coming up, like they were walking down the aisle to collect their first Grammy Award, they were taking their pants off. And they accepted their award in a tuxedo top and underwear, and they told this whole story about how when they were in Columbus, because I believe they're from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio State guys,
I think so. Yeah. They were watching the Grammys, and they're like, dude, if we ever win, like we just ought to just come up how we are now. And they were all just hanging out in their underwear. So that's what they did. They accepted their first Grammy wearing their underwear. You
know what? I can appreciate that. I mean, it's kind of based on what my wife told me when she went to see him down there. It sounds like they've got a little bit of Peter Gabriel in them. You know, they're dressing up like a flower and shit on stage.
Oh yeah, yeah, they're definitely theatrical, for sure.
Which is awesome. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, it's
and like some of the stuff on the record, like they do some stuff on the record that I hate other people doing on records. Like they've got this song on this album called Lane Boy.
Yeah,
and it's really kind of reggae, and then all of a sudden, like it has this big like wash of synthesizers, which I usually hate. Like, for whatever reason, in the last 3 years, this big wash of like hissy synthesizer noise has invaded pop music. And I know that because when I'm in the car with my wife, we listen to her radio station because she doesn't tolerate my shit, which this is what we call marriage and compromise.
I am in the same kind of marriage, man.
So, not that that's a bad thing. And not that my wife ever listens to my sorry ass on this thing, but it's just this thing where all of a sudden everything goes shh, and it sounds like you got your ears boxed and everything's kind of muffled a bit. But they do this in this song, and then all of a sudden, like you hear the keyboard go like total like 90s, like James Brown is dead, and then all of a sudden like there's this break beat that could have been taken from like an Aphex Twin record. Which you can definitely tell that there's some production going on.
Sure.
But when they like get done with that weird like echoey drummy shit, he goes into this crazy breakbeat. They're playing live drums on there.
Yeah.
Like these guys are fucking
They're decent
talented,
musicians.
man.
They're pretty good musicians.
Yeah, and I've been listening to this album pretty much nonstop since I actually bought this one because I was like, oh, what the hell? It was on sale for $5, so I'm like, I'll buy it. Yeah. But dude, seriously, it's worth a listen.
No, they're good. I listened to a little bit of them, like I said. I think what you're describing though, it's like you said, it's shit that you wouldn't like in any other song or whatever. But the little I know about these guys and the little I've heard of them, I think they genuinely are doing shit because they're just trying to do weird shit. They're trying to make.
They're making something different.
They're trying to make something different, and they really. I get the impression that they really enjoy this kind of thing, and they enjoy doing this.
Right.
And that comes through. I think it comes through when they play their stuff and when they record their stuff. You can get that from bands where because there's bands where, it's like God, I'm blanking now on some of them, but on like an example. But,
Mumford & Sons.
Oh, good Lord. they only do stuff.
Coldplay.
Right, Coldplay. Coldplay's a great example. Coldplay, when I listen to them, it sounds so sterile because it's like I don't get the impression that those guys really, like, this is not who they are. They're just...
Hey, we're going to make it a U2 album.
Exactly. They're just selling a product versus these guys, I get the impression that this is really who they are. They're really...
Right.
Just like you said, right? If they win the Grammy, they're going to go up and accept it in their underwear.
Right. And you know what?
It
completely reminded me when they accepted that Grammy. It was like, it reminded me of the MTV Awards in 91 when Nirvana won, and for whatever reason, Kurt just decided he was going to piggyback right on Chris's shoulders.
Top of Novoselic's shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then they have 2 songs on here that feature the ukulele.
Yeah.
And I usually hate that. Like, look, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, despite the last 2 albums. But Eddie Vedder releases that ukulele album, and I wanted to smack him in the face with the fucking ukulele. Like, he did a version of "Can't Keep," which is off of the Riot Act album, on the ukulele, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You just took a decent, like, Pearl Jam song and reduced it to a shitty Hawaiian luau song that wasn't 3 times as good as me taking a dump. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? But they've got 2 songs on this record that prominently feature a ukulele, and I'm like, it's unironic, which I think is what I appreciate about it. Like you said, they're like truly trying to do something that's different. They're not like Mumford & Sons putting a fucking banjo in every song because, like, oh, we're different.
Those guys, them and Coldplay, you brought up a great example too. They're just fucking awful.
And that's the thing about Coldplay. Their first album, the one with yellow on it, I can't remember the name. Parachutes was the name of the album. It wasn't a bad record. It actually kind of reminded me of early Radiohead. Like, it was.
Okay.
It wasn't.
I'm also not a fan of.
Right.
But
well, they've gotten shitty over the years.
Right.
But, like, it reminded me of early Radiohead, and it wasn't awful. It was like Pablo Honey Ben's era Radiohead, and it wasn't great. It wasn't awful.
It wasn't.
But then all of a sudden they were like,
oh,
we're going to be U2 now. No.
Yeah.
What the
we already have enough U2s. One is enough.
Dude, seriously.
I was a big fan of U2 in the early 80s. I mean, when with War and Unforgettable Fire, and even up through and including the Joshua Tree.
Dude, Joshua Tree was an incredible record.
A pretty good album. I remember standing in line outside of Rosemont Horizon, and it'll always be the Rosemont Horizon.
Yep.
I remember standing in line outside the Rosemont Horizon to get tickets for the Joshua Tree tour.
Really? And, that's when you could actually go to the venue and buy tickets.
Go to the venue and buy tickets.
And you wouldn't have to pay service fees because you were at the venue.
Ticketmaster fee. They always held some in reserve for the people who stood outside in line. And I remember standing in line for like freaking 14 hours or whatever the hell it was.
Back when you used to be able to camp out for tickets.
Yeah, and we got tickets, and I actually saw them, and it was a great show. But then after that, it was what was the album with Bullet the Blue Sky, and
that was
that wasn't Joshua Tree.
No, it was right after the Joshua. It was Rattle and Hum.
Rattle and Hum. It was like at Rattle and Hum, Bono decided he was going to be the next Jesus, and like I don't know what happened, man.
Well, you know the difference between Jesus and Bono, right?
No.
Jesus doesn't have to run around and convince everybody that he's the Son of God.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
No, and I really liked the Joshua Tree. Or there, like, for me with U2, there was a 3 album run that was impeccable. You had the Joshua Tree, you had Rattle and Hum, which was half live, half studio, and then you had Ak Chung Baby.
Okay.
And before that, it was just not my wheelhouse. It was just a year or two prior to my it was a year or two prior to my generation. You know, like, if you're pushing, you're what, 40?
46.
Okay, so I'm pushing 40. I turned 39 this year. So, you know, that was like your high school era.
Right.
When all that came out. So that's kind of like when the 90s hit for me, that was my era. You know, which I've gone back and I've listened to some of that stuff, and some of the stuff like New Year's Day is an incredible tune. Some of that early 80s stuff that they did was fantastic, but overall, like, I can't put on like Boy or War and be like, God damn, this is a great album.
Right.
It's like listening to early REM, like Reckoning. I'm like, ugh. You know,
yeah.
it's just got that really early 80s college radio.
Well, it's real lo-fi.
Yeah,
it's very and
piss
I think
poor
that's,
production.
It really is, and I think that's
which is different than listening to like Minor Threat, which is piss poor production, but it's quite intentional because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's a lot of the reason why I dig that older stuff so much. Like, you know, like I said, Unforgettable Fire and War and Boy and even like you mentioned, who was it that you just mentioned that had similar type of sound? That
Coldplay?
No, God, no.
Oh,
anyway,
REM,
like the early REM with like Life's Rich Pageant, and even whatever the one was with Driver 8, Remnants or something.
Or was it Green
No,
or Out
Green
of Time?
Green was after that, but it was like something remnants of something recollection of the
whatever. It was
whatever
like a 500. It was like that Fiona Apple album that had like a 300-word title.
I know there's an R in it. I don't know. But it's that lo-fi college radio type of stuff, man. I dig that stuff. To me, I like that stuff. That's
Yeah, and
it reminds me of the old school like punk days that I
absolutely
grew up with.
And I'm not slagging it whatsoever, but it's just that particular sound. Because like I'll listen to early Cure, like if you listen to like
Boys Don't Cry and
the Boys Don't Cry era Cure,
yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah, that's
like
good stuff.
it's good stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. You two just. I don't know. Maybe I've been corrupted too much by Henry Rollins because Henry Rollins fucking hates you too.
Henry Rollins hates a lot of things.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like I don't know. They're just one of those bands.
Yeah.
You know. And eventually I'll go see them just to have the spectacle of going to see them. You know, kind of like when I saw the Stones for the first time. It was not because I was a Stones fan, but just because it was the Stones, and everybody needs to at least see the Stones once.
Yeah.
And I've seen them twice. They're a good band.
You talked about Rollins. You want to talk about? You mentioned Angry earlier.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Angry, dude? I saw Rollins band open for Jane's Addiction at the Brawl Room.
Really?
Yeah, in 89 or 90, something like that. It was Jane's Addiction. It was the Ritual tour.
Oh, that was 91.
Was that 91?
Yeah, because that was probably right off of right after Palooza, the original Palooza.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I saw him at Palooza too.
God, dude, that was the year. That was the Ministry year as
that
well.
Was the
Ministry.
year that Ice-T was
Ice-T, Ministry,
and I saw all those guys.
That was
great,
dude. So, kind of on a side note, before we get into this, we've been kind of going on our Facebook page here recently about festival shows.
Okay.
And how they really fucking suck now.
Yes.
Like that early. Palooza was kind of one of the first of its kind, like where they got just a bunch of different bands, mostly all of the alternative ilk, but you had some hip hop that was on there, a little bit of differentness. That's when they still had like the freak show that was going on.
Yeah,
like by the time I got my first Palooza ticket, it was 94, so it was the fourth one, and that was Pumpkins and Beastie Boys that year. But it was still rather a freak show. I remember when we walked down into Tinley Park, me and a bunch of my buddies showed up on the stage, and here's this drag queen singing God Bless America. So they're like, we jumped up on the stage and sang God Bless America or whatever. It was either that or the Star Spangled Banner.
Whatever it was, yeah.
So me and all my dumb buddies are just sitting there like screaming our fool heads off with this drag queen singing God Bless America. It was wonderful, you know, but like it just seems that and I can't remember if I said this on a previous podcast, but it just seems that all of these festival shows now are like 4 or 5 pretty damn good to really fucking good artists and about 375 bands that would perform at like the Logan Street Festival.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a bunch of local stuff, and you know what? I give them credit for attempting to try to promote newer artists. But if I'm plopping down my damn good money now, I want to see a solid show.
Well, especially because you're plopping down a lot of money to go see these. To go see these festivals, and I agree with you. I don't think these festivals. I think it kind of all went. I think it all started going to shitter when they did the Woodstock reunion in what was that 99?
The first one was in 95.
Well, that was the
20th anniversary or something.
25th anniversary was 94.
Yeah, it was 94.
Right. Okay.
And then they did the other one in 99.
The other one in 99, like
when Metallica Rage and Limp Bizkit destroyed it.
But yeah, any festival that Limp Bizkit is on the bill is going to suck. But I mean, let's be honest.
Dude, you know what? I've seen Limp Bizkit a couple times.
Why?
Because it was the 90s, and that's what you did.
That's what you do. I know.
Like, we saw him at, I saw Helmet, Limp Bizkit open for Korn at the Aragon Ballroom.
Okay.
It was incredible, dude.
Well, Helmet, I love Helmet. I love Sludge, right? Helmet, and, I don't even know how you say who the fuck are they? KY Kias.
Oh, Caius.
Caius.
Yeah, the proto Queens of the Stone Age.
Right.
The first,
right. Before,
Josh Homme's first
before
band.
Josh Homme was in Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah,
Right.
Caius is dope,
They're
dude.
great. But them, and, Corrosion of Conformity and all of those guys. I mean...
I always said that, like the Deliverance album and the one that came out right after that, those two albums were what Metallica wished that they sounded like in the mid-'90s.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Metallica, I mean...
They tried to do
They
Southern
tried
rock.
to do something different. They tried to do something different from when they were thrash early, right? Because when they did Kill 'Em All and
Oh,
Ride
yeah.
the Lightning and Master of
Master
Puppets,
Puppets.
those were great albums. But
The
then-
Black Album was a decent record.
but it was so different.
It was a polished,
yeah.
like it was just a polished studio record. But dude, seriously, it packed a punch.
No, it was a good album. I mean, it was good music.
But then you had Load
it
and
wasn't
Reload.
Kill 'Em All. Oh, that sucked. It was.
This is why I love that I have Tom on the show, because Tom and I really see eye to eye on a lot of this stuff. He's like, no, fuck that, it sucked.
That sucked. The Black Album was good music, but it wasn't Kill 'Em All.
No.
Kill 'Em All was eight. Was however many songs,
like
11
minute songs or something.
8-minute songs that just thrashed. I mean, you listen to Kill 'Em All, you wanted to run through a wall.
Yeah.
That's
like every time I put on Queens of the Stone Age, I put it up on Facebook. I'm like, all right, I'm probably getting a ticket today.
It's true though,
Dude,
man.
have you heard the new Metallica?
I have.
Hardwired to Self-Destruct, dude. It's a good record.
It's good.
Man.
They're doing a little bit more thrash stuff like they used to.
Yeah.
I don't think the writing is as good. Lyrically, I don't think they're as good. This is going to sound bad because you're like Metallica. Like, I'm sure there's people out there going, dude, this idiot thinks Metallica wrote good lyrics. No, they really did.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine
they wrote really good music.
Like when I was in college, my roommate Nick and I were discussing Metallica at one point, and we're like, and I'm like, dude, Metallica writes pretty heavy lyrics. I mean, if you look at Master of Puppets and what was the name of the song?
Battery, Master of Puppets,
Disposable Heroes.
Disposable Heroes.
And I'm like, dude, Disposable Heroes is such an anti-war song.
Yeah, it really is.
And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's heavy if you're like in 8th grade.
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it's nostalgia kicking in, but I don't know.
Dude,
man. To me,
I remember it was the summer of 1991 because it was the year that Pearl Jam's 10 came out, and
God, what a year, man!
And it was also the year that Achtung Baby came out. Well, I was into Metallica at that time, like heavy, because a buddy of mine, Jason Johnson, shout out again to my homie out that lives out in Wisconsin now, but he turned me on really to Metallica. And I had a cassette of Kill 'Em All, dude, or not Kill 'Em All, of Master of Puppets.
Okay.
That was my soundtrack of the summer until I found Pearl Jam and this U2 album.
Yeah.
And then that was the soundtrack to the rest of the summer. But I remember going down to St. Louis to my grandparents' house and just having my Walkman on the entire time. And this is the best because this is like when Walmart was stupid. I mean, they're still stupid, but they were stupider back then because I would go down there, I'd forget to bring my Walkman, so I'd go buy a Walkman at Walmart. I'd walk across the street from where my grandparents' trailer park was, go to the Walmart, buy a Walkman, play the fuck out of it for the week, and then return it and be like, this thing doesn't work.
Doesn't work as
I got my money back. We're all good.
Dude, 91. I forgot Achtung Baby was 91. I know 10 was 91.
10 was 91.
Dude, but 91. Gish.
Dude, Gish
Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah, dude.
Nevermind.
Yeah, that was a great year, man.
Good God.
There was so much good music that came out that year.
Great year.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But it's odd, for as much great music that came out that year, there was still a lot of shit that came out that year. Like,
there's always a lot of shit though.
We've talked about it previously, but like Poison was still releasing records then.
Dude, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 came out in 91, I think.
No, 90 and 91, I believe.
Could be.
It's very possible. Either way, I'm like, it's damn. They were still releasing singles in 91.
You know what? If one of them came out in 91, that fucking sucked.
Yeah, dude. You know what though? Those Use Your Illusion albums were pretty killer fucking records, man.
I don't know,
dude.
man.
I saw them last summer when they finally did the reunion with Slash and Duff.
Yeah,
dude. It was a great.
That's what I heard.
Show,
I heard
dude.
it was really good.
We saw
Slash is.
Yeah, Eli,
as a guitarist, dude.
Slash. Yeah,
there's few guys from a rock standpoint, there's few guys alive today
that can pull that off.
Can pull off what Slash pulls off. I mean, there's better guitar players.
Oh, absolutely.
Blues guitar. I mean, Bonamassa and all of these guys, right? These blues guys. But Slash is, dude.
For the style that he does, and that was the one disappointment that Izzy Stradlin was not back in the band. But there's just way too much embedded bad blood in that, and between he and Axl, because they were friends in high school, like in Indiana together.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, and just coming up through the band, the next thing you know, Axl turns into Axl, and next thing you know, is like what they did Don't Cry, which on the video for Don't Cry, where they're on the roof, and Shannon Hoon is singing backup. He's on the roof with them because it was Axl that introduced Shannon Hoon to the rest of Blind Melon.
Okay.
And one of them, I think Slash, is he's jamming on the roof, but he's got a sign on his back that says, "Where's Izzy?" Because he'd pretty much quit the band at that point. He was like, "Fuck you guys." But the guitar interplay between Izzy and Slash, dude, that was like Brad Whitford and like Joe Perry. Like their guitar interplay, the way that like they were playing two completely different riffs at the same time, and it just made the songs.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I actually saw them. It's funny you brought up Perry and Woodford.
Brad Whitford.
Woodford, yeah. Because I actually saw Guns N' Roses open up for Aerosmith.
Yeah, oh, yeah. That was back on the tour, dude. That was on Appetite.
That was the Appetite tour.
And that was Appetite, and then Aerosmith was touring on Permanent Vacation at the time.
Yeah, I got to watch Axl throw a microphone stand at a guy in probably, I don't know, 5th, 10th row, wherever
nice.
He was. Yeah, he was a lunatic.
Oh, well, yeah.
But we saw them. No, I saw them on a Saturday night. Or it was either a Saturday or Sunday night. I believe it was at Poplar Creek.
Oh, wow. Which ironically, not too far from the house here.
Yeah, no.
The original...
Right, it's right down the street.
Yeah, well, not anymore, but yeah,
it used to be. Yeah, but I saw them at Poplar Creek the day after I saw Boston up at Alpine Valley.
Really?
And I remember this show. I will never forget this show because we went there. It was a buddy and I, and we went and sat on the lawn, watched Axl lose his fucking mind, and then we were both so exhausted because we were out all night the night before up in Alpine, watching Boston. And I just remember just decided, you know what? I'm not even going to watch Aerosmith. I'm just going to lay on the grass and listen to it. And it was fucking badass.
Oh, yeah.
It was so badass.
Yeah, I saw Aerosmith on the next... No, I didn't see him on Pump. I saw Aerosmith on the Get a Grip tour. That was the first time I saw him.
Okay.
And they had Megadeth open up for him.
Oh, jeez.
It was one of 3 or 4 shows that Megadeth opened for him, and then Steve Tyler kicked him off the tour because Dave Mustaine was too gloomy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude, it was a great show, but yeah, that was the show where Joe Perry would run out into the I'm sure he probably still does it, but he ran. It was down in Tinley Park. I was on if you're facing the stage, I was on the right-hand side. Like, we had the last 2 seats in our aisle. Joe Perry runs right past our seat, and I'm like, gosh, that was 93?
Yeah, something. It
92?
would have been 93, 94, I was thinking. Probably.
No, because I was a freshman in high school.
Oh, okay.
So that would have been, 92, 93 at least.
Doing math?
Yeah, it had to have been 93 because it was... I'd run track and cross country that year, and it was during the track season that the album came out. So it was the summer of '93, and I was involved with the Big Brothers Big Sisters program when I was a kid. So my big brother took me to this Aerosmith show, and he's like, "Dude, I thought you were gonna dive bomb Joe Perry as you ran." I got to slap Joe Perry on the shoulder, which was the coolest shit ever awesome, for a 13, 14-year-old kid. Dude,
Joe Perry's badass, man.
Dude, he is amazing. So, but yeah, that was my first star kind of encounter.
Yeah.
Unless you count when I met Steve McMichael at a WWF event when I was 11.
That doesn't count. That does not count.
So, but yeah, dude, 91 was a good year, man. Dude. But yeah, that GNR show over the summer.
Was that good?
Oh my god, dude! I would honestly,
a long time.
Honestly, I would pay to see them again.
Yeah.
I would pay good money, and I would pay better money because I was in the 400 level seats at Soldier Field, and Dude, I don't know if you've been up in that section.
I've been up there.
But for a concert,
I've been up there for football, and it sucks, dude.
It for one, it sucked because, like, we were higher than the speakers were. So we were getting a lot of echo.
Oh, okay.
But two, like, you could feel the floor, like, shake. So, yeah, one of the things that's kind of bonded Tom and I over the last few years, aside from our multiple hatreds of many things, is obviously music and a lot of early 90s alternative music. So I would say that, like, you know, and Tom and I have gotten into debates and discussions over it over the years. Like, a few years back, I think it was, the 20th anniversary of 10 when they reissued it.
Yeah. They reissued it and it's fucking garbage.
See, this is where Tom and I always, like, disagree, because they reissued the album. They reissued 10 where they remastered the original tape.
People know this already.
No, they don't.
You don't have to explain this.
You'd be surprised.
This is a podcast about music.
Yeah, music, movies. But you gotta understand. See, I kind of work on the Stan Lee philosophy.
Get to the point where I get to call you an idiot for liking the remastered version.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I always look at the fact that everybody's podcast could quite possibly be their first podcast. Like Stan Lee always said, everybody's comic book could be their first comic book.
That's true.
So somebody could be walking into this and be like, Pearl Jam redid their album? Really?
There's a band
called Pearl Jam?
What?
But so for the 20th anniversary, they released like this mega box set. It was the original album as it was intended, just remastered, and then they did a remix of it where they stripped it down. And then they also came out with the Blu-ray or the DVD of their Unplugged. Tom likes it all reverby and mushy sounding. Yeah. But for me, like, when they stripped it back, they called it 10 Redo, R-E-D-U-X. And they stripped all of that reverb off the album.
They remastered it.
They remastered it, but they also remixed it. Which was the big thing, is that it was a complete remix.
Which I still, as a musician, want to know how you get reverb out of a recording. But
well, I mean, if you figure you go back to the master tapes, and it's an effect that they put on.
That they put if they put the reverb on after.
It could have been on post-production, because that's when everything was reverby.
Yeah,
everything was fucking reverby.
Yeah.
He came into it, and they pulled all that off, which for me was cool, because as we all know, Eddie Vedder sings like he's got 17 marbles in his mouth at any given point, especially at that time frame. But like in the songs like Even Flow, like there was always that breakdown section where it got kind of quiet, and Mike McCready started doing his guitar solo, and you just hear whispering going on in the background.
That's the best part.
But the cool thing for me was when they ripped away all of that reverb, you could actually hear what Eddie Vedder was saying.
I've actually done a lot of thinking about this recently.
Really?
For other reasons, yeah. Not specifically the whole 10 thing and the remastered version of 10 thing, but why the hell do I really genuinely prefer analog sound and analog music? Because the 6-year difference or 7-year difference that we are, it's huge in the respect that I grew up with LPs.
As did I, though.
I grew up with vinyl. Well, did you grow up? You grew up. I mean, yeah. I guess you would have. Yeah,
dude. The first album. We didn't even have a CD player until like 1990.
Okay.
So like the first music I ever procured was either on cassette tape or vinyl. Well, then
why the hell do you like the remastered version? No, dude, when you grow up listening to vinyl, you should know this. You grew up listening to vinyl, dude. All those cracks, those pops,
the pops. It's that
warmness
of it.
It's not. I don't listen to vinyl ironically, right?
Right.
I'm not a hipster. I don't own a pair of skinny jeans.
As he sits here in my basement in skinny jeans.
Listen, but you know, I think when you grow up with vinyl and when you grow up listening to, especially when you grow up listening to Hendrix and Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all of that stuff on vinyl, that realness of like, I want the pops and the cracks, and I want the shitty recorded version. I want the like Nevermind to me is almost too polished.
Yeah, it was very polished. That's
really,
why in Utero,
really polished.
It was, but that was the whole thing when Nevermind came out.
That's why it's the standard bearer, despite the fact that Gish, Bad Motorfinger.
Even if you look at In Utero was production wise, it was a better album. Even though, like, dude from New York or from Milwaukee that produced Gish.
The Bodines? Butch Vig.
Butch Vig produced Gish. He produced
Yeah.
Siamese Dream, and then he produced
Nevermind. All of the garbage stuff.
Yes. Well, he was the drummer. So
Right.
And don't get me started on garbage.
No.
Oh God.
I still have to. I still have a bone to pick with you about an earlier episode, but that's all right.
Sure. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So, he's going to tell me he likes Morrissey.
Why are you dogging the Smiths, man?
Oh, fuck him.
Why are you dogging the Smiths? Is there just answer me this. First of all, is there a more soothing male voice out there than Morrissey? Number one.
Tony Bennett.
Oh, come on. And number two, I mean, realistically. Okay?
Realistically.
Yeah, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, okay, yeah. I mean, even you could argue Elvis and Buddy Holly are great voices. But come on, dude. In recent history, not only that, but who do you know that sings more depressing shit and is happier about it? Is the happiest. The Smiths it's the happiest music there is, and it's the most depressing shit in the world.
Oh, dude, it was the Smoking Popes all over again.
Come on, we'll meet you at the cemetery gates, and we'll fucking. I mean, come on, like, dude, the Queen is dead, but let's smile.
Fuck them, dude.
I like the Smiths,
dude.
a
Like
lot.
they're
love Morrissey.
dude,
I love the Smiths.
Like, what is it? How Soon Is Now? Or that song? It's a good, decent song.
How Soon Is Now?
Yeah, it's a decent
I don't even
tune.
like that one. That's the one. That's the theme song
for Charmed. Yeah,
for Charmed.
Like, it's a decent song. I liked that song before then.
You like that song because it's Charmed.
I've never seen an episode of Charmed.
Really?
I've never seen an
you're
episode.
Missing out.
But yeah, I just can't. I can't get into even in the '90s when Morrissey was like solo, and like it was his prime. Where it's, the more you ignore me, the closer I get.
The
Go
solo shit
fuck
sucked.
yourself.
I'll agree with you. The solo shit sucked, but the Smiths were. I mean, the Smiths were good because they were just. Happy.
It just seems so pretentious.
It is.
And British.
It is.
Of course it was.
Pretentious and British.
Otherwise, hell is hot, the ice is cold, and water is wet.
You know, what the hell?
Yeah, so anyway. But back to the production of Nevermind.
Sorry, back to, yeah.
But, so, it was very polished. And even, like, the vocals. Like, if you listen to the vocals on Bleach, and then turn around and listen to the vocals that were on In Utero, they were raw. And if you listen to the vocals on Nevermind, it was very produced.
Yeah.
Even to the point where, like, Butch Vig had to convince Kurt to do multi-tracking for his vocals to fill it out. And the only reason he got Kurt to agree to it was because he was like, well, you know that, John Lennon multi-tracked all of his vocals. Yeah. And it was that sticking point that got Kurt to do it.
Yeah, a lot of people now blame Butch Vig for ruining that album, which would have been... I don't know. I don't think he ruined it. I think it's still... I mean, if you're...
Look, honestly, if there's an album that I'm going to pull out from that era, it very well may be that album.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's that or it's 10 or... I mean, but...
But you know who the unsung hero of that album is?
Dave Grohl.
No, not even close. It's Chris Novoselic.
You think so?
Oh, dude.
His bass lines are pretty... Yeah,
his bass on that album is impeccable.
Yeah. Because
honestly, like, Kurt's doing his very, like, high register guitar noise thing. It's... And I say that in the most lovingest of ways.
As a guitar player, nothing that Kurt Cobain... As a guitarist, and you know this as well as I do, nothing Kurt Cobain did with a guitar is supposed to work.
No, not at all.
Nothing. Everything he did. The massive amount of chorus that he throws on everything. Okay, musicians are good. Everyone else is going to tune out for the next 30 seconds. The massive amount of chorus that he throws on everything. The ridiculously distorted Fender amps. That's not supposed to work.
Yeah.
That's supposed to
He basically... I remember reading an article back in the day where he was talking about his guitars and he basically, like, he was saying something of, basically he called Leo Fender retarded. He's like, yeah, I don't know about this, because he was talking about the whammy bar. He's like, every time I use it, my guitar goes out of tune. Whoever designed that thing was practically retarded.
Well, you heard...
And he's like, well, there goes my Fender my sponsorship. And then, like, after he dies 2 years later, they released the guitar that actually is sitting in one of those cases behind you.
Well, you heard what Side note, you heard the quote that I think it was Les Paul said about Leo Fender when Leo Fender came out with the Telecaster. Great, now any idiot who can carve 2 blocks of wood can make a guitar.
That's hilarious.
Sorry. Anyway, the production of Nevermind.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it was slick, but it needed to be slick. Because if you think about it, if Nevermind was made as dirty as Gish was, or if it was made as... And Gish was hella produced. No. And where would we be? We would still be singing fucking like Poison would still be popular today.
Well, we would have looked for something to pick up where the hair metal left off.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the reason that Nirvana is the standard bearer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they came in and they filled that gap.
They destroyed it.
Well, and yeah, and I mean, I think It Smells Like Teen Spirit. There's that. I really believe 18 to 25-year-old, especially young men. They need to be angry at something.
At some point, yes.
They need to be pissed off at something. They need to be able to tell the world, fuck you, I can do this on my own.
Right.
And Smells Like Teen Spirit, despite, 10 was a great album, and Gish, and all of those other albums were fantastic albums, but Smells Like Teen Spirit was the only song out of any of those
that encapsulated that.
That had that, fuck you, I'll do it myself.
Well, in the ironic, the funniest part about this is, like, you had just spoken about... going to see Boston.
Yeah.
Kurt has joked many times before his passing that if you play Smells Like Teen Spirit backwards, the chord progression is More Than a Feeling by Boston if you play it backwards.
It probably is. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
He was not shy he was not shy that he ripped people off. I mean, he said straight out he ripped off that the song in the 80s was Come As You Are. Mm-hmm. I forget who did it. Somebody will look it up at some point. If we had a producer here, he could look it up.
Yeah, Jake would be looking it up
Jake
right now.
Jake could look it up right now, but
Jake's busy.
There's a song called The 80s by some...
and he basically lifted the riff?
That he lifted the whole riff for Come As You Are.
That's
from
hilarious.
them. And he even said he did it. I mean, most of their shit sounds like the Melvins anyway, right?
Like, he worshipped at the altar of King Buzzo.
Yeah.
Like Dale Crover from the Melvins played on their first record.
The Pixies,
Pixies
too.
as well.
Oh my God, he loved the Pixies. He talked about how he just wanted to be the Pixies.
Right. Yeah. So, but still, despite all of that, and despite all the crazy production, that album was fucking incredible.
Whatever list you're making, whether your top rock albums whether you're making the top however many or whatever, you have to.
It has to be.
Nevermind has to at least be in the team photo.
Now, have you ever seen?
Gotta be there.
Have you ever read those articles like Rolling Stone will put it out like the top songs of the '90s or the top albums of the '90s?
Fuck those lists.
Honestly,
fuck Rolling Stone.
Honestly, every time they look, we lived through it. We were there.
Yeah.
But every time they put Teen Spirit or they put Nevermind as number one, I'm like, I kind of feel like Barry from High Fidelity. It's like, how very pussy. Really? That's what you're going to put as your number one? Like, honestly, there were far better songs, there were far better albums, but maybe they're looking more at the cultural impact of that particular album.
You'd have to, right? If you're going to put
completely changed the landscape of music, and
huge, right? The entire I still stand by my belief today that bands like Seether and 3 Days Grace and these low tuning chunk low high type bands, this is just modern grunge. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They're more grunge. These bands are more grunge. Like 3 Days Grace and Seether are more grunge than Soundgarden ever was. Right? I mean, Soundgarden's a metal band. Alice in Chains is a metal band.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's funny that you say that, because when I was working for Kiss the Sky, there was always this running argument between me and Adrian, one of the other employees that worked there, between she and I. I'm like, Alice in Chains belongs in the metal department.
Oh, absolutely.
No, they're rock and roll. No, they're a fucking metal band.
They're a metal band. And they're a fucking damn good one.
They were excellent, dude. Even with the new singer, they're good.
Yeah.
Like that Blue Fades Away to Black, or Black Fades Away to Blue.
Whatever,
that album was incredible. Yeah. And then like the Modern Dinosaurs, or whatever, the second album they put out with this guy. I haven't listened to it. I've heard it's not as good, but that Blue Fades Away to Black is
It's
incredible, dude. Yeah. It's a great record.
Yeah. Well, people put any band that came out of Seattle in the 90s into grunge. Like if you came out of Seattle in the 90s, oh, you're a grunge band, right? Whether you're Alice in Chains or Pearl Jam Pearl Jam, and you know this, you're a huge Pearl Jam fan, right?
They're just a rock and roll band, man.
They're far closer to Led Zeppelin than they are to Nirvana.
I mean, even if you talk to Mike McCready, which I've never spoken to Mike McCready, but every article I've ever read, he said the entire album for 10, all of his solos were just him paying tribute to Steve.
Riffs.
He was paying tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you look at the videos from that era, he was dressing on stage like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I was in a band that played half of those songs, and I didn't know a single one of those solos. I just played blues riffs.
Yeah, that's all you had to do.
That's all you had to do. But Eddie Vedder wore flannel, so that made him a grunge band. And they came from Seattle.
Well,
although Vedder came from L.A.
Vedder came from Chicago.
Chicago
via San Diego.
Was it San Diego?
San Diego.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But still, and actually, it wasn't even Chicago. It was Evanston. He was from Evanston.
He's a rich boy. Huh? He's a rich kid from Evanston.
I don't know if he was rich.
If he's from Evanston.
Not necessarily, dude. I work in Evanston from time to time. There's some poor motherfuckers in Evanston. Just because the university's there doesn't make it great. Have you been to DeKalb lately?
That's a good point.
I lost $30,000 on a home in DeKalb. I'll tell you, there aren't very many rich people in DeKalb.
No.
But did you ever get an opportunity to see Nirvana live?
I did not.
Neither did I.
I never saw. You know what? Two bands I regret not seeing are Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Really?
I never saw Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam was at the student center or whatever the hell it was. At Northern.
They opened for Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, they weren't. I don't know if they were there opening for Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, because it was Smashing Pumpkins, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and
No. This was when I was in college.
That's the same year.
Is it the same year?
Same year. They those three bands toured together. I've got a poster of it in the other room.
Maybe it was the three of them. I know at the time all I wanted to see was Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get tickets. We tried like hell to get tickets.
Dude, seriously,
I called out every favor I knew on campus from everyone, and couldn't get them.
And that's my big beef with them lately. Like they went through that whole thing in '95 with Ticketmaster, and we're like, "Oh, we're not going to do this because you guys are paying unfair rates for your tickets and blah 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 blah, your ticket fees and bullshit." And the last two times they've toured through Chicago, they've come through Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
And
because they don't have to go through Ticketmaster.
Right. Well, they don't have to go through Ticketmaster, but 90% of the tickets go to brokers before we even get a chance for them.
Well, everything goes to brokers now.
Like, I was shocked that I got the Tool tickets.
I only got Tool tickets because I got a guy who knows
guys.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
But seriously, I had when Tool tickets went on sale, I had two phones going and I was refreshing constantly.
I can't believe you got them.
I can't either.
I'm stunned that you got. I mean, obviously you can get them. You can go to StubHub right now and you can get them.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay friggin' outrageous.
Did you know that there are still Ticketmaster locations at Carson Perry Scott's?
No, really.
There are.
Are there still Carson Perry Scott's?
There are. There was one up at Woodfield here, and there's one in Aurora still.
I did not know.
Yeah, but that was the thing that burned me so much. Like there, and I mentioned that in that solo episode that I did, that there were a few episodes here and there, or there were a few shows here and there that were like one-off shows that I just couldn't get tickets to. Like they did like a one-off show when they played Lollapalooza. They were at the Metro. Who the fuck is going to get tickets for that? You know?
Yeah.
And the day that they played at Lollapalooza, I got baptized. So it was like, well, do I choose Jesus or do I choose Pearl Jam? And quite frankly, I like Jesus, but I should have chose Pearl Jam. I think Jesus would have understood.
I think he'd have been okay. Him and Eddie Vedder have the same haircut.
Yes, they do.
At least that's what I've seen from the pictures.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So, which was the Thursday. But, I mean, there have been a few one-off shows on like that $1,000 benefit show that they did at the House of Blues with The Who. I was like 20 at the time. I didn't have 1,000. I didn't have like 1,000 pennies to rub together at that point. So obviously there were a few one-off shows, but I've not missed them since '95, with the exception of those few one-off shows, until they started playing at Wrigley Field. And then I'm like, dude, look, Wrigley's a cool venue to see a show. I saw Foo Fighters there where they were incredible.
Yeah.
But you're limiting, look, I understand, you got a fuck ton of money. You can just play a show of 200 people if you want, and you could feel satisfied with it. But you have way more people that want to see your show than those 200 people that would pay whatever.
You know what, though? I don't... I'm going to see Tool at Rosemont because I've never seen Tool, and Maynard is fucking awesome, even though he's a lunatic.
Dude, Adam Jones is an incredible...
Adam Jones is a great guitar player.
Also an Evanston boy.
Yeah, and what's his name on drums is...
Danny Carey is one of the greatest greatest drummers in rock and roll history.
Unbelievable, yeah. But so I'm going to see them at Rosemont, but I don't want to see shows at big venues anymore. I want to see guys at House of Blues. I want to see guys at Chicago Theater. Like I saw Jonathan Tyler and the Northern Lights at House of Blues. Freaking unbelievable. What a great show. Mm-hmm. They came on at like 11:30 and played till like 3 a.m. Dude.
I'm too old for that shit.
Ridiculous. Oh, me too. Me too, but it was worth every second of it. You know,
dude, when I
saw Blackberry Smoke at House of Blues.
We
what
went
a
to
great
that
show.
Yeah, I saw G Love when I was like 19 at the Metro. He got on stage at midnight and played until probably about 4, but we left at like 2:30 because I'm like, I'm fucking tired. I got to work in the morning. And this was me when I was 19, and I probably could have like bounced back with no issue.
Yeah, you were still made of rubber.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's like when I saw Prince at the Aragon Ballroom.
Oh, you saw Prince?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I got to see Prince. But I saw Prince. He got on stage, probably it was like 12:30, and we stuck around because he didn't even hit the stage. No opening band. The doors were at 10. You got 5,000 people just standing around holding their dicks. It was 96 or 97. I couldn't even get a beer.
Yeah.
And we're just standing around waiting for some shit to happen. And then all of a sudden, like, Shaka Khan comes out. And we're like, where the fuck is Prince? And then Larry Graham comes out. I'm like, all right, you were great in Parliament. Let's do something. And then Prince finally shows up at like 12:30. Incredible show. But we left before it even ended.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, it's awesome. You want to play late?
You know what, though? For people like that, I'd still, whether it's Prince or... like I said, Jonathan Tyler.
I regret actually leaving that show early.
Of course you do, and you know what? I would rather see bands at those smaller venues. I don't want to go to the big venues anymore. I just don't.
Yeah.
World Theater or whatever the fuck they call it now.
Tinley Park sucks.
Tinley Park is horrible.
That's the only show you and I ever went to. Like we met up at that one at the
when we saw that
Jamboree with Puddle of Mud that year.
Yeah,
and when Wes was like, "Fuck you, I'm never playing Chicago again," and then.
God.
They were just at they played the Arcada not too long ago in downtown St. Charles.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, fucko, I thought you just said you were playing
Chicago
ever again.
Yeah.
That dude's nuts.
That was Papa Roach was at that show.
Yeah, dude, that was a good show.
Talk about a live show that is just insane.
And I don't even like Papa Roach.
I don't even really care for their music.
But they were good.
But I got to tell you, he's all over the place.
Oh, yeah. That was a good show.
Got to be fucking heroin, man.
Well, no, dude, if it was heroin, he'd be like passed out in the middle of the stage.
Got to be coke. Got to be a ton of coke.
Dude, it's the 2000s, dude. He was on crystal meth.
I'm sorry. I'm 46, man. Listen.
Look, if it's not weed or heroin, or acid, I have no idea what it is.
I know weed, heroin, acid. That's it. I'm done. After that, I don't.
Maybe a couple mushrooms.
A couple guys I knew did coke. That was about it.
Oh, but yeah, that was a fun show that we.
That was a good show.
I don't even remember who else played that year. It was Papa Roach.
I know those guys
with
the masks. Hollywood Undead played.
Oh, yeah, they sucked. They were terrible.
They're awful. Seether played late.
Did they? Did we stick around for
late?
that? I can't remember if we stuck around because I left at the same time you guys did.
Unfortunately, I left early and I did not see Seether. It was the only band I wanted to see. But that was the show my son wanted to go because
Brendan, yeah,
because he was big on Hollywood Undead at the time. Because that was like the big thing. Because they wore masks, I guess.
Yeah, you know who else did? Fucking Slipknot.
God, I fucking hate those guys. Oh, man.
Dude, you know what?
Dude, if you're that good, like, I'm so sick and tired of whoever the drummer is from Slipknot. I'm so sick and tired of people telling me he's the greatest drummer on earth. You know what? If he's that fucking good, you don't need two of them.
Yeah.
Okay? If he's that good,
you know what, though?
Need two drummers.
Joey, I can't remember his name.
Whatever his name is.
I had a dude that was a roommate of mine in college when we lived in the dorms, and he was a big Slipknot fan.
Yeah.
And on those first two Slipknot albums, that Joey dude played drums on those albums. Dude, despite the fact that they had a guy that just played like fucking like
he played
50-gallon drums and garbage cans, dude, that guy like the original drummer. he seriously was a hell of a drummer. I would not put him in Danny. I would not put him in Danny Carey from Tool category.
Okay.
Nor would I put him even in the same category as the guy who plays drums for who's that really shitty band that I hate? Avenged Sevenfold. Because that drummer from that band is incredible.
Avenged Sevenfold's. I know they're really good. They're a good band.
They're good, but I fucking hate them.
I know.
There are some of those bands where I'm like, these guys are really fucking good, but I can't stand them.
I don't care much for their stuff. You know who is like that for me? This is gonna sound bad because I'm gonna really piss people off. Rage Against the Machine.
Wait, what the fuck did you just say?
What did you just say? Indeed, sir. All right, so this was the first part of our 2-part episode with Tom, our first special guest. So next week's episode, we'll start off with Tom explaining his fucking self about that napalm nuclear bomb he just dropped about Rage Against the Machine. So we're looking forward to bringing you the second half of that. Dana will be back the week following. She just got to get her schoolwork completed so that she can be smarter than everybody else, as she normally is. So for Pop Goulash this week, I'm Reuben. I'm slurring my words. It's 2:38 in the afternoon, and I'm not even drinking, so be kind to each other.